And as far as the disinformation campaign, boy, I don't know what the motivation would be. Maybe it's to fool our adversaries into thinking that we have some remarkable technology in our possession. I don't know to what end. I suspect that would be, I'm not a lawyer, but I suspect a massive disinformation campaign along those lines would be illegal.
I don't know about.
So the thing about these Stephen Greer pictures and videos, I'm trying to find the picture when he's actually got there's this kind of skeletal alien picture going around. There was also like a picture of one on a desk, and he was stood behind it. I'm just trying to find that picture if I can find it. The thing about these alien problems or questions, I'm trying to find that picture. It was in one of the anonymous videos or one of the similar videos. But the thing is, right, where is that Greer picture of the alien on the desk? I can't find it. I don't know where it is, but it was in a video, so I'm quite surprised it's not coming up in a search when you type in his name. So it's basically like this, similar to this picture here, but there's like the skeleton. The picture that I saw in a video was Greer stood behind a table with like an alien on it, and it was sort of like, dead or not moving, but it wasn't skeleton, it was kind of like full. So the thing about all these pictures of the aliens, right, is this. Firstly, and I've actually just watched a video from a NASA woman who was saying that, they haven't found any evidence of it whatsoever and they don't believe in it, although they're not denying that we could find it eventually, but they don't believe any of this current, I think she took part in the recent hearing on aliens. The thing about all this so far is that these types of alien specimens or pictures or images that they're claiming that they look like or that they've even seen, right? Firstly, they are all some sort of, biological, they've got bones and they're a humanoid shape, right? And the thing is, they look quite feeble. To say it's an alien, an advanced creature. I mean, in movies, they've got, the alien or predator, and they've got all these very strong aliens that look very powerful. When they make up movies and when they make up fantasy, all these movie producers, they make these big, strong, tough aliens like in The Predator and so forth, right? But what happens with these claims of UFO sightings or even these photographs and images and so forth? We always see these kind of like either smallish or quite feeble appearing aliens, right? And those are the ones that they're claiming they've either, captured, recovered, or possibly even seen. And in fact, that they don't actually look very menacing or scary. But when you watch the movies, it makes aliens look very menacing or scary, or even, like too weird or strange, that you really wouldn't want them or like to evolve. Firstly, like in the Alien and Predator movie, they even make them look like, a genital face, like in the Predator, or some strange fish creature, or they're very, very powerful and scary and dangerous. Mainly dangerous. I think E.T. is one of the only ones that I can think of off the top of my head. And, like the Gremlins that are sort of... Well, the Gremlins actually end up turning evil. They're cute at first, right? E.T. is kind of friendly. So that psychologically makes you fear them. Now, if you're going to fear them, and all the movies are funded, and we've got this whole Epstein circles funded by military-industrial complex in the movies as well. So in the movies, it makes you very fearful and scared of them. And if you're fearful and scared of aliens, then you would want or need weapons to fight them. It's almost like with the security cameras and the CCTV everywhere, security surveillance state, the more criminals there are, or the more criminals, the more crimes on the rise from immigration or from poverty or from disparity of wealth, then the more you need to be scared, buy security gates, protect yourself online, not trust each other, not share things, you know. So with that theme of the police and the military-industrial complex always wanting more and more security, more and more cameras, watch more and more what's going on, it's kind of anti-trust and it's anti-giving and anti-sharing and anti-kindness. And I think that in the movies, if all the movies are predominantly steered by the military-industrial complex who funds a lot of it and owns a lot of these companies, ultimately, like Prince Andrew Epstein circles, they definitely want you to fear the aliens and be scared of them. And then it's pro-military. It invokes, it provokes, it advertises and obtains evidence of public concern. It generates and collects evidence of public concern. And a need for military to put money into weapons, because otherwise we wouldn't really need to put money into weapons, because you can have space travel and rocket ships without weapons. Ultimately, they want to combine them with the weapons, although I don't know if a lot of weapons would work in space without oxygen or without gravity. This is the thing. When they eventually get into space, all the space exploration and so forth, they want them fitted with the weapons. Currently, NASA satellites and shuttles and Voyager and that lot don't really necessarily have weapons, but they want them to have weapons. So in the movies, they're creating all this danger of threat by aliens being scary. So when you actually get to look at, the real life claims, what they're claiming is actually how it is in real life. This is what they're claiming, by the way. NASA don't agree with them. I haven't watched those recent court hearings about UFOs, and I think that when some of the White House representatives went to question them, they wouldn't answer any questions, they wouldn't give any information over, which is quite odd from the military, So when we actually see any photos or any claimed photos or any accounts or anything that's meant to be how it actually is when it comes to it at the moment, it's quite the opposite. It's quite the contrary. We actually don't have these Yeti, behemoth, dinosaur-like scary raptor aliens. We have these kind of humanoid and biological with bones, very feeble-bodied, they look feeble. They don't actually look scary or menacing. They kind of look feeble. Now, I would suggest this. If there has been for a long time all this movement in the super tech sector, where the World Economic Forum and Elon Musk and all these people who are really into all this, actually making devices and doing stuff with research, even Neuralink and biology people who are into the biochemistry side of it, they all seem to be wanting to actually, instead of making us intelligent and making us fast and clever and quick and really good at reversing in vehicles, really agile, really fast with his wits, instead, we've been fed all these foods, McDonald's and all these foods, and a lot of people have been going cancerous and diabetic, far from getting healthier, and the population have been getting overweight and obese, and it's not been helping their memory, concentration, and focus. And then the other thing, although then they've got the steroid people who they get into kind of like bodybuilding and pumping with all these excessive male hormones, actually can also hinder thinking. It can stop you having a more abstract and creative mind, although it might make you better at action without thinking. Acting, heroic acts without thinking first. I don't think they've been trying to help evolve us all and make us better. I think they've been quite the contrary. And even if they have been experimenting with, on the biochemistry side, a lot of the pharmaceuticals have got bad side effects, really, really bad side effects on us all, because we shouldn't really need a lot of them, and we don't know what they've been doing to themselves. Now, the final point I want to make is this. When you see these aliens on the desk and the table, they look quite feeble. Now, if we were to think, this is my main selling point on this, where I think that they're actually using psychology. There's thought behind it. I don't think it's random accounts. That's why I think the whole thing has a strategy behind it. And what I believe the strategy is this. They actually really want to kind of pursue this whole metaverse and this whole digital, mechanical, almost like the Terminator or the $1 Million Man idea, path, paradigm, where Elon Musk and so forth, they're wanting to either fit us with tech and with devices and with, neural communications and artificial intelligence and things, which really assimilates people's willpower eventually. And also, they're wanting to pursue this thing where they really believe that the human consciousness doesn't need to be made out of water and biological and growing. It could be transferred and retain the awareness that we have, the type of awareness that we have, or they might even not be bothered about the type of awareness we have anymore. They might even want to ascend that and be fitted onto a machine or device. Given that, on that paradigm, it's not you're not really living, right? And you can go through some psychedelic experiences and experience some very different modulations of consciousness. I've felt as if I was just a pulse on a wire going up and down, just conscious of being on one cable or wire. And, there's all of the different feelings of it. But whenever you get out of the normal standard state of awareness, the normal, what we call the average human setting, the wake up in the morning and just speak to people and feel normal, average, standard, breathe oxygen, talk to people and them not being particularly nasty, but then not being overly nice, just the average normal thing. You do feel grounded. And with a lot of these psychedelics and so forth, there's almost like they say this with like acid, there's almost like a cardboard feeling of the world, that the world just feels like it's, objective. Or one thing with cannabis, why I'm not the great fan of it, is it can remove the emotional aspect and even the interpretation of words and so forth, changes meaning without the emotional meaning in it, right? Without the emotional meaning in it, which means some people are less emotional than people anyway. And I strongly believe that, part of being human is emotional love and caring. And that's the thing with these oligarchs, they love themselves, they love their things, but they don't necessarily love the masses and love other people or what's good for those people. They love what's good for profit or what's good for power, but not what's good for making other people happy or what other people want. And they also truly believe that, their products and their things they're making are the best things that people should have and want. Mainly because they make them money and give them power and keep them occupied doing them, not what people really actually want themselves and what they like themselves. But then they like to change what people, because they can control style and fashion and taste, they think, oh, well, we make up what people like what we want them to like, people like whatever stars and celebrities, what we say, rather than it's a battle against the will of the individual. They want the will. The whole thing with the elite, it's all about the individual's will. And that's why animals get killed and slaughtered and why there's no laws making killing animals illegal, because animals don't have a say in it. There are some laws that protect animals, but ultimately, they don't have their own independent will to oppose. And the thing with these aliens is that they look like they've got a big head, but they don't look very strong in the physical body, like they could overpower you. And even if they did have any superior intellect through evolution and biology that made their spaceships, what it makes it look like on the table when they're there is that whatever technology they had and whatever spaceships they made, it's feeble. They might have made it here, but they crashed. They couldn't reverse backwards properly. They didn't have sat nav on there, and it's crap. It basically makes them look feeble, rubbish, pathetic. And what that does is, if you wanted to leave the technology alone and not have implants and not bother with computers so much and not bother with surveillance and cameras and satellite and weapons and so forth, if you wanted to concentrate on loving, caring and hugging and growing the human intelligence through biology and evolution, even biochemistry, or possibly even genetics alone, it makes it look like, well, there's nothing for us in the future. It won't get us anywhere. All it will get you is to another planet and in a crash landing. It makes it look like, okay, this is not worth pursuing. And therefore, it makes you more pro or for to favour this other completely different idea that they've got and they want, which is to get these machines and devices into your body instead, or to get your consciousness, either metaverse wrapped around your head permanently, so you get completely and totally, your whole plasticity of brain is brainwashed with this thing into what it teaches and says and suggests and does, until it is actually shaping and changing everything about you. The device on your head then changes you, and then those machines are a tool for changing us. Or there's only a future in saving and preserving your consciousness, so you want to live forever on some sort of android or machine or robot, which then doesn't even have to have a gender. It could be male or female or none, or not have a gender. That means that they actually maybe don't even like sex anymore. They're not even interested in sex. They're only interested in information only, pure knowledge, pure information, and pure power. And they want to live forever. These aliens aren't living forever. No matter what spaceships they had or how long they've been in the universe, when they get here, they crashed and now they're dead and pathetic. So, they don't want us to pursue, they want us to follow this consciousness on a machine thing. And once you're on a machine, you can be programmed and controlled anyway. So I think there's a hell of a lot of propaganda and psychology in this. And going on that theme, therefore, I strongly believe that, if these were aliens, and if it was real, and if it was substantial, then firstly, if they had been around for a long, long time, and if they had got all these technologies which could propel them through space at light speed or over long periods of time, and so forth, to get here, then they would be in a machine, or they, the spaceship would be them, or they would be like Optimus Prime or something, and they wouldn't, because before they made the spaceship to get here, they would have made the technology to make themselves live forever as a robot creature or android. So it makes the alternative look feeble and rubbish. That's what it does. And also, if the aliens were that intelligent, and if they were that intelligent to make the spaceship and travel through space, then if the correct and proper way of doing things was to make a robot or android and then change your consciousness into it, or even live in a metaverse, not going to space or whatever, then they would be doing that, but they didn't, because their superior intelligence would have done it. So everything about these whole alien bodies and the appearance and shape of them is a contradiction compared to what these people are pushing and what they want. So that is why I think it's dubious, but you might say, well, why are they here? Did they die before they got here and then it went on autopilot and crashed into the planet, or some auto system took it here, or were they banished and they fled, or was there a war, or were they exploring, or did their planet die? There are many, many different questions to pose. But if that spaceship was so technological to go all that way through space, right, at mega speed and have technology on it, it would be better technology than any sat nav you've got now that sends you like not the quickest way, like the longest way, or like the stupid reversing things they've got on cars now to help you reverse with a camera so you don't crash into things. It wouldn't have crashed into anything. And then they've got all this footage when they claim the spaceships were zooming left and right, then spinning in a circle, then disappearing, which if they could do, then they wouldn't have crashed, because it would have a thing on it that, that before it crashed into anything, it would just disappear. Like some of these are. So none of it makes sense. And to be honest, I don't even really want to watch those UFO hearings in the court in America, because I think that this conversation that I'm having now writes them all off and is superior to any rubbish they could come out with just through logic, And I don't like American court cases anyway, because they don't even know what if YouTube's private or not. They can't even decide whether YouTube's private or not when it's clearly not. They can't even decide about copyright laws when, the right to petition is immunity and you're eligible for it when it's political. You don't argue it. The nature and type of thing you've got makes you eligible for the enactment. You don't have to ask, plead, or beg for the enactment or reason it. It's the type of thing that qualifies to have it or doesn't have it. But Americans, they like suing each other and they'll have a go at anything. And, it should be applied like Class F materials in the advertising legislation. So I don't, I don't rate any of these American court cases, at all. So, that's my opinion on it. From all of the things that were being shown, to me, it's very sort of Prince Andrew and kind of, even George Lucas being misled. How did he come up with all that, themes in Star Wars? It's very kind of, Epstein circle-y and military industrial complex reasoning behind it. And now with the whole movie industry, I think that I think that Ian Fleming, is it Ian Fleming? Was it Ian Fleming? Well, Fleming, who wrote the James Bond books, anyway. I think that that he. Hold on a second. Yeah, Ian Fleming. I think that Fleming. Well, I don't think I know. Fleming did work in the military. He did have a job to come up with ideas for things, how they could either use devices or psychologies and ideas. He basically had a very engaged job where they had to think up of ideas how they could, do military operations overseas, infiltrate government, spy, obtain evidence, surveillance, all this stuff, but not like the pretend in the movie, how they actually really do it, because he really did it. So if military are up to anything, then Fleming would know a lot about it. Why he became a famous novelist and wrote, was allowed to even write movies, it is another question. But what he did write in his films, whether or not some of it is, it's not, Moonraker is the closest they got to sci-fi. It's definitely not science fiction. It's not sci-fi. It's not science fiction. It's a normal man walking around in normal real world with a normal hat and a car. So it's based on real life. It's not a fantasy scene like Barbarella, Queen of the Universe. It's based on real life. Therefore, the things in it, like a TV soap, it's a real world universe set and setting. So, so therefore, when Fleming writes his films, he's writing it, it's based on real life and around real life. Therefore, some of his spying and espionage things, he's not a complete fantasist. He comes from the exact field of endeavour that he's writing about. And that's the amazing thing about Fleming, that it doesn't really click with a lot of people, that he is actually really the real deal, writing fantasy books based on the real thing of what actually did go on and what you do. So this is it. And there's lots of comedy sketches in those films, like, it's Mr. Goldfinger, my arch enemy. Well, it's like Putin, isn't it? In 1 minute, Putin's his friend, and then, he's sat at a table with us, having a meeting and talking and shaking his hand. And then the next thing, he's threatening us with nuclear weapons. And it's like that. Well, let me arrange a meeting with Mr. Goldfinger. Don't worry, I can arrange that. And, well, how do we meet this arch villain enemy of ours? Oh, well, I'll just arrange for you to meet him down at the golf club. It's almost like going round to Trump's for a round of golf, isn't it? This is it. There are Trump-esque caricature comparabilities with Goldfinger. It's our arch enemy. It's Putin is about to nuke the world, supposedly. Oh, well, it's all right, 007. We'll arrange you to have a meeting with him round at that Eton school. They were saying that some of the private school Putin paid for some of Prince Harry and Prince William's private school swimming pool or something. It's like, it's Mr. Putin's friends in Russia. Yes, I'll arrange for you to meet them round at Harry and William's private swimming pool that he bought us. In fact, he paid for it. He's our friend. He's going to nuke the world, though. Oh, it's all right. We'll just arrange for you to have a round of golf with him, and we can discuss it over chucking a couple of bars of gold on the floor. This is it. That is the ultimate suspender sock, the ultimate, I've got a golf ball in my pocket, are you happy to see me? The ultimate, Jack, the Democratic Society, or whatever it is, it's Jack, with a big smile on his face, This is it, that it's the Parliament, the Constitution Society, or from Parliament, in Paradise Towers, in London, Petty France, it's Jack. Yeah, hello, Jack. Is that a golf ball in your pocket? Or are you just happy to see me? It's Sir Jack. Sorry, message from the Queen. It's Sir Jack with a big smile on his face. The Handlebar Moustache Club. Yes, is that what's the big smile on your face there, Sir Jack? Have you got an ace in your pocket, or is that a golf ball? It's the right to petition immunity. It's not it's not a fucking cigarette lighter that screws onto a fucking cigarette holder that turns into fucking Scaramanga's fucking left nipple or whatever. This is it. There's a whole it's like Carry On film, and then you've got Johnson, who's meant to be the Prime Minister of England, involved in illegal parties and being prosecuted, and completely and totally useless, a useless man holding a frozen fish up. And then the next thing, he's going over to a real war, supposed real war, where things are getting blown up in Ukraine, and then talking down Zelensky from peace negotiations with Putin. It literally is like an Ian Fleming film. And then you've got Rishi Sunak with his sock suspended, his suspender socks and his camp crossed legs, going, so I'm going to invest in oil and then make a couple extra billion, and now I'll change the law so it makes me even more money. I went to Winchester College, but I'm almost like, it's like I'm possessed by greed, corruption and greed of the elite, like some sort of Indiana Jones character from Temple of Doom. It's ridiculous. We're being kiddie-fiddled by the military. And that's one thing in Dr. No, in the movie, they've got this guy walks in, military guy, which is a joke because, he walks in there with his, socks and his uniform, and there's a joke about, men in uniform. He gets a thrill out of having a uniform. It turns him on, and possibly makes him feel a bit sexual. Why would you? Then it makes you think in your mind when you reflect on it. You're like, well, why does he like that uniform? Most people don't like those type of uniforms. They make them feel uncomfortable. But it makes him feel good. It makes him feel good. Oh, I feel good in this uniform. This is it. It's like porn. It's some sort of sexual thrill wearing the uniform. It's almost like people like nurses' costumes and so forth. The rank, the general's hat, the whole thing. It's like the Psycho Crusher move. It's psychological, like from M. Bison in Street Fighter 2. You get different strokes for different folks. That's the whole thing about the military. You know, you have to have discipline, but, you know, they've got discipline in the corporate elite now. They've got discipline on eBay. They've got discipline on YouTube. You know, they won't do anything. They won't put your videos back up. They won't check them properly. You know, it's like some sort of Auschwitz or something now on YouTube. They won't do anything. You know, never mind discipline on the military, the uniform. They're not letting people do anything in these companies, and then you've got Biden and the government telling them what to do. Or even Biden and the government are supposed to be telling them to uphold our rights and restore our things, but no, instead they're telling them to take more down, subvert our liberties and freedoms. You know, so I think there's something in this whole. In those movies, particularly in the Goldfinger movie and Doctor No, which are meant to be the two main ones, I think it does tell of the type, even if it's not, you know, this, you know, or that happened or not. It's the type of things happening, not specifically, you know, this happened then and that person here or there. It's just that this type of thing happens, or that type of thing happens, or these sort of scenarios happen, and these type of devices are put to use. And that's why I think that, well, you know, when Goldfinger's got the big map and everything's planned out and, you know, everything's, you know, worked out to the last calculation and so forth, that it is. And that's why I think that they have excelled in every human endeavour, you know, and then you get these things happening like, you know, someone getting crushed in the Hadron Collider. It scares all the scientists, crushed by a fork truck or falling off a fork truck, and then they're all scared. You know, it's almost like the car crusher. You know, they excel in every field of endeavour, scientists, but they're not very bright. They can't reverse properly without the aid of a beep, 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 you know, without the aid of a camera behind them. What's happening to human consciousness? What's happening to awareness? We should be getting better at, you know, manoeuvres, but we're not. We're having to have a machine tell you how to reverse a car, which means we're getting stupider. And that is why I think that all these machines and tech are crutches. They're crutches, and it's true. There's something, you know, if people truly are disabled, and if they need, you know, like, you know, a heart monitor or whatever, and things like that, then, you know, fair enough. But if science and biology was progressing, then, you know, you would identify and cure illnesses through biological and, you know, natural means, or identify them, you know, before they were born, earlier, and then, you know, so I still, like the pair of spectacles, you know, I've said this in other videos, and these mobility scooters, it's, while they're not improving us all, I don't think that they have any intention of improving us. I think they've got every intention of improving themselves. And going by how they treat us with money and how they regard what money we should and shouldn't have, I would give strong evidence and statement that is how they secretly do regard us with you know, with any advancement in anything. You know, look how they regard us with the money. You know, that's how they regard us. Full stop. That's what Rishi believes how it is. You know, he's the Prime Minister. He makes the laws up. He owns all the companies and business. He invests in the shares. He makes the profits, and he can change the law and make himself more money. You know, but yet he's doing his little bit because he turns up and hands a couple of bacon sandwiches out to some homeless people. So that means that he must be good. He's not supervillain. Bollocks. You know? How these people see each other. I think that these are the criminals. And I think that I truly believe that it goes all the way back to, you know, like before even the Houses of Parliament burned down. You know, because there was a full police force then. I think there was something in the police force and the organisation of it all. And I think that they wouldn't have been able to, you know, I don't think it'd have happened. Because if you've got a full, complete and total police force, then that would be the time when it didn't happen. You know, it's almost like the more and more police you get, the more and more things are getting worse, and then the more and more of these crazy things happen. Yet the less and less police you have, and then normal people are meant to be doing the crimes, the less and less serious things are, and the less events. So I actually truly believe that I think that I do believe there's some sort of department, or whether it is governmental or whether it is independent, through these overseas enterprises that created Canada, HSBC, Venture, and so forth. And I think they may recruit ex-police or military, and it's some sort of private enterprise that is unmarked, it's camouflaged, or people don't necessarily know their roles, need to know basis. They don't always know what they're doing or what the importance of it is or why they're being told to do it. And this is why now everyone is an innocent victim, because you can, as long as you've got site management, site control, controlling what gets broadcast, what doesn't, who turns up, how many people turn up ambulance-wise or police-wise through the radios and response. You can even fool the police, but when they see things firsthand and believe it, and I really do think actually people are getting injured. I'm not trying to claim that it's all like rubber glass screens that have broken and fake blood, or give someone some drugs that make it seem like they're flatlined in the hospital and then later on they come back to life, or whatever with Diana and so forth. I do think that there's terrorists. I think they're terrorists, and I think that people are actually getting hurt, killed, or injured, and I think that they've got site control, I think they've got site management, and then I think that when the police actually see people really getting hurt, although the circumstances around it are causal, there's a cause, like either hacking a machine, setting a machine up to go wrong, booby trapping it, like that signal that failed where 250 people died at that train wreck in India, and so forth. They've got there's a science to this. It's almost like the closest sector to this is movies, because it's like camera and action. You got check everyone's in place. We know we've got everything planned out. This is how it's going to happen. We know that Sergeant PC Finger's going to really turn up, not an actor. We know that he won't, check their mobile phones. He's not going to do this. He's not going to go that. What is he going to do? We're going to swerve this car into here. Someone's going to go past there. We can make it swerve, or the traffic lights fail, and then, even if they are injured, then the police officers see it, and they become believers, and they are pro the cause. They become activists, brainwashed like Extinction Rebellion. Well, I'm not saying Extinction Rebellion is bad, but they're absolutely and completely, undoubtedly, they're road safety fanatics or crime fanatics, safety fanatics, surveillance fanatics, and that's how you get pro police to be very, very pro their cause, and they get medals and awards and reinforcement when that's what Extinction Rebellion started using, that strategy, it's kind of like making people into heroes and so forth. And I'm not saying that they are in on it and they know that it's staged or fake, because I don't think that I think people are dying, but it's terrorism, and all the time there are a certain percentage of accidents that are real and genuine, but then there's these stunts that are there's a message, there's a meaning, there's a warning in the meaning of it and the timing of it in response to something else that happened the day before or 2 days before. They're ready for action, and we need. I think that it will be hard, because I think now that with the fact they've bought everything up, they've got mobile phones everywhere, they're one step ahead with the technology, because they're not giving even the police or the fire brigade the technologies that they're at. They're a little bit ahead, so they can control and site manage our site, and so forth. And the special forces and police that they've got in place are not given or trained with the capacity to detect them. And that's the whole thing, like with witness protection and Madeline and all that. It's beyond the capacity, and it's by design. So, I think that we're being given the runaround and we're being played by these terrorists, whether they're each independent and they engage through nods and winks and recognition, like a consensual membership where they can just see what's going on and what's happening, and they can just play their part in it independently, or whether they have an actual operations centre, like, the people who are giving 77th Brigade the computers. I think it is a military that doesn't. It's like casual clothing. It's not named or called a military. But that's what it does. It's like some of those rooms in the BBC. They had all these manner of departments and rooms in the BBC and names. Oh, what department's this? Oh, it's the Department of Wiggle Waffle. What will that do? Well, when it turns out what they do is they examine psychological methods and techniques for programming on TV, how to, influence the listener, So, oh, is that what you're doing? So that's what it is. A lot of these business and enterprises are doing these things, and, this is just Company X. So, well, what does Company X actually do? And when you look at it, it takes stuff down from YouTube and Facebook, political things that possibly could be detrimental to this what we're doing, which is expanding surveillance and security and these technological phones where we can see and hear what everyone's doing and what they like. We know who's who, we know what's what, we know every single individual's capacity, we know their capabilities. In fact, we're hindering them, we're making sure they don't have any capacity or capabilities, so we can all the time increase what Rishi Sunak's doing all the time is increasing his financial lead, is increasing his own financial capacity. He is competitive, like David Cameron said, but what actually happened is we didn't get like 50 different companies who were all doing very, very well and we're spoilt for choice. No, that's not competitive. What happens is Cameron took it off us, and now Jeff Bezos nearly owns it all. Even buying less from eBay. Sort of Bezos's, this is it. That's competitiveness. Jeff Bezos buys everything, including our NHS. And then you might as well call the government Amazon. Just a minute, weren't you encouraging competition? Well, yeah, we win, you lose. This is it. And Sunak is on that, we're winning, you're losing thing. And the way that they're going with the ownership and shares, there's no one to compete against except us, who they're thrashing. This is it. And this is what I don't think Sunak, with all his calculations, his economy, his numbers, his figures, his banking, his capital, his all these, Martin Lewis, watch Martin Lewis for an hour and he just tells you all the details, right? All that, at the end of the day, you can have as many complicated chess moves as you want. You can have Bishop to Rook 6, Bishop to Rook, Knight to Pawn, blah, blah, blah. You can get as Russian complicated chess moves as you want. You can get more complicated Russian chess moves than, Martin Lewis, money saving expert, has ever seen in small print bank policy. But at the end of the day, there's two sides, black, white, and at the end, there's no pieces left because he's taken them all, right? And they win, you lose. And that's the way it's going, There is no competitiveness because these people are on all or nothing, right? And if they weren't on all or nothing, then they wouldn't have it all. But they have. They have got it all, and in comparison, we have nothing. And they even say that they want us to have nothing and be happy. So it is, and when we've got nothing and being happy, they've got everything and they're happy. So, if you want to be on this, so it's like either have everything and be happy or have nothing and be happy. Oh, that's good. Usually the person who's got nothing's unhappy. Well, we've tweaked it a little bit. We've changed it. We've hacked it. So we'll have everything and be happy, and you'll have nothing. And instead of being pissed off about it, you'll be happy. And that's the thing with the celebrities. In the natural order of things, in nature, when someone has everything and takes everything, and you don't, you're sad. And that's why you get pissed off and annoyed and politically oppose them and have free will. But they don't like that. And that is the one thing that they can't handle when they've got everything and we have nothing, is the fact that we all have a will and an opinion. And that's really why they want to assimilate it, handicappers or assimilators, and have more machines and less humans eventually if we all, die of diseases, because it's the will of the others who don't want them to have more, and the thing is, why aren't we all pissed off? Why are we all, pissed off about Rishi Sunak and, all these oligarchs? They've managed to, the thing with the celebrity and the star is this: when the celebrity and the star has got everything, instead of being pissed off and complaining like we do about Boris, or Keir Starmer, they get us to love them for it. Oh, they've got everything. Well, instead of being pissed off, notice how when politicians have everything and we've got nothing, we get annoyed with them. But they've tweaked it so if the celebrity has everything and we have nothing, then we love them for it. We worship them. And in fact, we give them the money. We love them because what they're doing is what we like, what we want, and what we need. So if they've got absolutely everything and we've got nothing, but what they're doing is we like it because that's what we like. What they're doing. Carry on doing what you're doing. Make these little objects, these souvenirs, these toys, these chocolate bars, these cinema films. These that they're knocking them out. But they're actually not making us happy. They're making us unhealthy, and they're distracting us from the fact that, they are increasing their gap all the time, in monetary, financially, and in law now with the policies. And that's the thing. They want us, what they want to do is that whole thing, you'll have nothing and be happy. They've actually calculated it and boiled it down to an absolute simplicity. And that is the fact that they want us to lose and like losing. When they're saying you'll have nothing and be happy, they're basically saying, we're going to win, you're going to lose, and you're going to like losing and be happy losing. That's basically what they want. That's how they want it. And the way the human will is currently set up is, survival, Extinction Rebellion, survival is, we don't like MPs doing this because it makes us angry and we rebel, but if we lose and have nothing and be happy about that, then, they fix the problem. So it's all about changing the will in the person. Although Keir Starmer is saying, well, you're not going to have nothing because we're building powerhouses. Actually, what he's trying to do is convert more people over to their side, and let them go along with what they're doing. What this new Starmer powerhouse culture is going to be is they've already screwed everyone else over. Now they have to have, they're definitely not going to help, the poor people. So they've got to have a new class who they think that they're helping by having their powerhouses with all their things like MSNBC. And, MSNBC don't speak to all the poor people because they're all conspiracy theorists or poor or whatever. MSNBC are going to Keir Starmer with our powerhouses, but they aren't really going to be powerhouses because all these things in the houses are just going to control them. The metaverse, the automated, robot Stepford wife, the rest of it, the car that is your new personal police officer that's going to police you. Those things are going to be terrible. And they're going to have security gates and fences from the really, 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 really poor people who are completely and totally fucking written off. This is it. And what actually is going to happen is even they're going to increase their distance from the powerhouse people, just like they did with the other labour worker people, all the time increasing, their distance. So I think that, this whole, going back to the alien thing, I think that it's intended to look feeble and it's a way to try and get us to go along with thinking that it would be a good idea to live forever in a robot body, because these aliens, the future, otherwise, if we don't, accept their assimilation and implants and, putting your consciousness onto a machine, then all we're going to do is end up on a distant planet, dead and feeble, like this alien. Can't even, his spaceship hasn't even got a beep, beep, beep sat nav to reverse him backwards properly, and that is planned. They've strategic, that's why I believe that the whole aliens thing is designed. There's a design to it. And And I think we need to find these terrorists, whether they're operating independently or as a team, as a unit. I think they exist. And I think that they're camouflaged as normal companies and businesses. Some of them kind of know what they're doing. Others really are. They don't really understand. They just follow orders. Basically, YouTube staff are part of it because they are taking our videos down. They're following orders from executives. You can't negotiate with them. They won't give any information over. They won't answer any questions. They won't do anything. They are behind the brick wall. They are in another country. And they have ultimate power. They are now in control. They've stolen the enterprise. It's Neil Mohan's like, warp speed, Mr. Sulu. We have stolen the enterprise. Doop, that's it. We can't control them. They're not controlled by the voters, by the electors. And if you can't have a vote in the Starship or a say in the Starship, then you aren't in control of the Starship. The Starship's in control. Oh, it's private. They said there was going to be competitiveness. There is no competitiveness in politics if you can't debate things on the platform with your rights. And that's the big lie of Cameron. The big lie of Cameron was, we're going to be competitive. There is no competitiveness. They've taken ownership of everything and now they've kicked us all off politically. So we can't debate on there because it's bad for the company, because we might actually have a political win over these companies and what they're doing. So that's the reason that they're booting us off, right? So they're subverting the liberties of the realm, which is what happened before. Although it's not the judges, ministers and councillors, evil councillors, who are subverting the laws of the realm, although they aren't helping us out this time. It's the company enterprises. And Sunak is the minister, he's the prime minister, and he's one of these oligarchs. If Sunak does not contact YouTube and tell them to put all political channels back on there, Sunak is he's refusing to act. And in law, there are some laws that say a failure to act is considered as breaking the law. Not only like doing an act, but a failure to act when acting is required of them. It's like, if you fail to jump in a pool and save a child when it's only shallow, are you responsible for it dying? A failure to act, Sometimes it includes a failure to act, sometimes it doesn't. I would say that Sunak, he's meant to be the Prime Minister, and we've got committees that are meant to uphold our rights for us, and they're not doing. And the Petitions Committee is just refusing to publish things that we're allowed to publish. And it's even pretending to be dumb as well. That's the worst thing. Oh, I don't know what you're asking. I have 5 professors have signed it. How can you not know what I'm asking? Mind Day MP, the lowest of the low, the crooked, the criminal of the criminal, the crooked of the crooked. Mind Day MP is a disgrace to democracy in this Petitions Committee. In Parliament, and he should know better than that Geordie Labour woman. They're subverting the fundamental laws of the realm. That's what they're doing. And I've ended up on that subject from aliens. But we might as well be feeble. We're all feeble. We've got big brains like these aliens. We've got intelligent things to do. Stop 15-minute cities. And we're useless. We're feeble. Because the Petitions Committee are just, brickwalling us. So it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, they just lie. What are you talking about? This is it. We're being fundamentally undermined.